This conference will now be recorded.
So DVD is there. Inside that root, you will see the media. If you go, this is the DVD location where you can where you can find your DVDs. So all DVDs are there. Yeah. Okay. So you have to install your system because your system is not there. Okay. So you have to install your SIDs. Yeah. Fine. Okay. So server's name, server's IP I pinged. Okay, so this is the server's IP 104.197.91.38 that you have to use. Fine, okay, so let's start with the multi-data containers. So we'll resume from last. So we completed till here yesterday, last time. Okay, uh, now we'll see how to log into the system and the Canon database. So when we install any HANA system 2.0, so after the installation, one system DB and one tenant database is created with the same SID. Okay, so we will see that how to log into the system and the tenant database. Fine. So just open the HANA Studio and then click here, Add Systems. Here you have to provide the IP address of your systems. So what is the IP address of the servers? 104.197 197.91.38, and then instance number is mine is 00. Now here we have to select multi-container. So HANA 2.0 is all multi-container. To connect to system DB, you just click here, then click next, then give the password systems, and then user system and the password welcome. So it will get connected to the system DB.
And actually, your voice was breaking. So can you come again?
Is this for everyone, guys, or only? Hello, I'm audible
Yes.
for others.
Yes.
Yes.
For
Then
them,
I think your
yeah.
network may be
Yes.
104.197.91.38. Why it is not connecting? Check if server is started. Yes, server is started. Okay, so let me just a minute. Let me unshare this one because I need to configure the firewalls to allow the port. Just give it 2 minutes. This server is recently built, so in the cloud the firewall is there. So that firewall settings I have to do because otherwise they don't allow you to connect to the your servers. 2 minutes. Where is the file setting? Yeah, it's done. Okay, so let me share. Okay, so yeah, so firewall setting was missing for this cloud, so I have done. So now I connected to the system DB. Okay, now if you see that Dev is your SID. So whatever SID I have provided during the installation, that is the DEV. Okay, so here it is showing that DEV system DB for DEV. Let me delete this old one. So if you see here, double click. So we have the persistent and non-persistent services. Okay, so persistent services, you know, are there in the index? Are there in the tenant database? So what are the persistent services? So persistent services are nothing but the index servers and the access engine. Okay, so if you see in the system DB landscape, and if you go in the service, you won't see the persistent services. All the non-persistent services will be there in the system DB. Why? Because the system DB doesn't hold any users data. It is related to the system related activity, like system administrator activity. So this is system DB is for us only, for basically the HANA admin team to manage your tenant database, backup, recovery, administrative tasks. Okay, so if you see that here, I have the compile server, name servers, preprocessors. Okay, so these are the core services of the HANA 2.0 in system DB, and these all are the non-persistent services. It doesn't hold users data. If you see here, we have the name servers, compile servers. So name servers play a very important roles in system DB. So name servers is having the all the information about your landscape, system landscape. So HANA system landscape information is there with the name servers under the system. Yeah. So when you configure the scale out scenario, multi-node cluster, multi-node HANA installations, then all the configuration are stored in the name servers of the system. Okay. I will connect to the tenant database, and I will show you that what services are there in the tenant database. So how to connect to the tenant database? Just click on the add systems, and then here you have to provide the host name or IP address of your tenant database, then instance number of your tenant database. So tenant database means you have to provide the information about your system database, system DB. So inside the system DB, you will be having your tenants. Okay. So this IP will be your system DB, this one. Yeah, dev. And then instance number of system DB. Then here select the multi-container. And now here you have to select your SIDs. So I said that during installations, one tenant is created with the same SID, DEV. Okay, so here you have to type your tenant database. So whatever the tenant database you have, if you have 2 or 3, 4, you may be knowing the SIDs. How many tenants are there in the my system with the SID? So you just type your tenant database. So I have only one dev. This is my dev tenant database. I will correct this one. Guys, anyone is getting noise?
Yeah, sorry, it is a little bit background noise or some.
What kind of
some
background noise? Any other
yeah.
else? Any other people?
Like when you are speaking, there is some noise. Maybe with your microphone. Can you like connect it again?
I'm not getting your voice properly. Can any other people getting the audio clear?
It's like a microphone or some echo kind of sound.
Okay, okay.
Not
Let
really.
me change my microphone. Yeah, just give me. Yeah, I'm on mute. I'm just changing my headphone. Just give me 2 minutes.
Now it's lot better.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No. So it is coming from. Let me check again. Headphone. Hello. Hey, hi guys. Now is better.
Yes.
Yeah, fine.
Yes.
Okay, so I changed my headphone. So organizer. Okay, I'm the organizer. Okay, fine. So let me share again, and let me see. Yeah, recording is on. Okay, fine. Yeah. So thanks, guys. Look like my headphone is not working properly. Maybe it's creating a noise. So
So can you
this.
start fresh recording from now?
Yeah. The recording will be continue. So I'll start again.
Because
Okay.
23 or 25 minutes is wasted. So you can start fresh recording since now.
Yeah, recording will be continue. Okay. So I'll continue with the. I'll continue from the scratch. Okay. So the same recording you can use. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So how to connect? So can I? Shall I repeat again this? How to connect to the system DB? Something kind of, or you we are good to go with the talents database. Okay, so let me start again. Okay, let me delete this one. Okay, so while connecting, you have to type your system database IP address or host name, and then instance number of your system database. Okay, then go to the multi container, because HANA 2.0 is a multi container. Then if you want to connect to the system, just select system DB, click next, and then provide the user ID, system, and the password, and then click on the next button. So once you click next and then click on the finish, then system will be added like this. Okay, you will get the entry like systemdb@dev. So dev is your SIDs. Okay, so these SIDs we have given during installations. So during the installation, one SID for systemdb and one SID for the tenant database will be created by default. So in the systemdb, if you see in the landscape and the services, so we have all the non-persistent services. So non-persistent services are nothing but a compile server, name servers, preprocessors. Okay. So these are the HANA core services which doesn't hold any system, which doesn't hold any users data. Okay. So users data is held by the index servers and the XX engine. So index server and XX engine is always there in the tenant database, because in tenant database we have the users data and the application data. So all the application and the user will be connected to the tenant database. Okay, and systemdb is mainly is for basis and HANA admin team to perform the administrative tasks like system monitoring, taking the backups, restore of the backup and restore of the individual tenant database, creating of the creation of the tenant database, starting and stopping the tenant database, etc. So those things you can do from the systemdb. Okay, now I'll show you the how to connect to the tenant database. So again, same, just click on the add systems, and then you type the IP address and the host name of your system DB. Okay, and then where your tenant database is there, which tenant database you want to connect, you have to just provide the IP address and the instance number of that system DB. Okay, select multi containers, then in the tenant database, so whatever the tenant database you have or you want to connect, just you provide the SIDs. So in our case, the DB is created by default. So during the installation, one system DB and one tenant database is created by default with the same SIDs. Okay. So SID is DEV in tenant database. Just click next, and then provide the password, system password. Okay, this password will be common for your system DB and one tenant database which is created by default during the installation. So whatever password you have provided for the system DB, the same password you have to use for tenants and the system DB. And later, if you create any additional tenant database, then during the creation of the tenant database, you have to specify the password. I will show you that. Okay. So now connect with the password provided during the installations and then click finish. So this will not connect, okay, because my these systems are on the public cloud, that is on public IP address. So this service you can access from anywhere. Okay, so that's the reason it won't allow you to connect to the tenant database. Okay, so I'll do one settings, but that setting is not required if you are on the on a customer systems. Okay, so in these systems, why it is required? Because I don't have the DNS, domain name servers. Domain name DNS is the servers who does the host name to IP resolutions. Okay, so here I have only the IP address. So what I will do, I will make a DNS entries in the HANA systems, in the system DB, so that whenever I connect to the this 104.197.91.38 of any tenant database, then it will allow you to connect. So I'll make one connections, one settings. Okay, so that setting you have to do when you install and when you practice on the servers. Okay, but this setting is not required in case of in your project. Okay, in case of real time, because there you will be having the DNS, server will not be available on the publicly. Okay, the server will be available in a customer's networks. Okay, so you don't need to do this configuration. So this configuration we have to do in the system DB. So in the system DB, I will allow this live IP address, public IP address, in the host name resolutions. Okay, so in the configurations, okay, so whatever the configuration we do in the configuration tab. Okay, so I'll explain this later. Okay, so let's just just give me 2 minutes. So there is a one yeah, so if you see here, public hostname resolution. So this is the public server IP address is there. So I need to make this is resolvable from the system DB. So I'll create a one entries here, but you don't need to create these entries in your real time systems. Okay. So here then I have to provide the like a map underscore. Okay, map host name. What is the host name? My host name is the HANA VMs. So I'm just giving map host name HANA VMs with the IP address 104.197.91.38. Okay, so this you have to do in your system as well if you want to connect or practice on tenant database. So these settings you have to do, then click finish. So it will it will map these HANA VMs with this IP address. So whenever I connect to 104.197.91.38 on tenant database, then it will allow me to connect to the tenant database. Here I'm just creating a DNS entries in the system DB, so that anything comes on this IP will redirect to the HANA VMs. Okay, internally. Okay, so because this tenant database is there in the system database. Okay, so system database should allow us to connect to the tenants from public IP address. Okay, so now we'll try to connect. Okay, here just click connections again, 104.197, then 00 is the host name and the instance number of your tenants system DB, and then you give the tenant SIDs, then system, then welcome 1. the same password which we provided during the installation. So it is now connected. Okay. So this settings you have to do only on this servers, not on your customer landscapes. Yeah. Okay. So if you see here, I'll go in landscape of the overview. I'll go in overview. Okay. So if you see the overview of the system DB, this is the same as tenants. I'll show you that. If you connect to the tenant database, this is your tenant. So if you see that how is tenant is connected, dev@dev. Okay, I'll explain this later. First, let me explain you the difference between the system DB and then tenant database. If you open systems DB and tenant database overview tab, it will be a common. It will be common. So if you see in the overview tab, so this part is common. If you see that it is development systems, started date, then SUSE, then this part is common in tenant database everywhere. Because okay, so if you see the memory, resident memory, CPU, disk. If you see the same thing you can see here. Okay, why? Because your tenant database is using the same hardware. Okay, so that's the reason the overview tab is common for your system DB and all the tenant database. Okay, so this will cover in the monitoring part. Okay, so if you go in the landscape of the tenant database, okay, if you go the landscape of the tenant database and in the services, you will see the index servers. Okay, and you will see the XX engine, index servers and the XX engine. So these index servers and XX engine are the persistent services which hold the users and the application data. So whenever you do any transaction in the application, if you install any SAP application on the in the HANA database, then all your data are stored in index servers. Okay, and if it is web-based application, then it will be stored in the XX engine. So when we take up backups of the tenant database, then it takes the backups of index servers and then XX engine. So index servers has the external ports. If you see that SQL port 30015, so 00 is the instance number. If your instance number is 01, then the port number for index servers of the tenant will be 30115. Okay, and if you see in the system DB, if you go in the landscape, here we have the name servers, and name server has their port, SQL port. So 00 is your instance number. If your instance number is 01, then port will be 30113. Okay, so when you connect from HANA Studio to a system DB, then it connect to the name servers of the SQL port. Okay, so I have connected to the system DB, but where, on which port, on which services? So I get connected to the name servers on the SQL port 30013 of system DB. So whenever you connect from HANA Studio to a name servers, HANA Studio to a system DB, then it connect to the name servers external port, that is the SQL port. And whenever you connect to tenant database from HANA Studio, then it connect to the SQL port of the index servers. Okay, guys, clear up till now? Any questions before I move ahead? Because this is a very important topic. A lot of questions, interview questions are there on this tenant database.
Sir, if someone asks what is tenant database, can we say like it is a part of system DB where user data gets stored?
Correct, you can say that. And one line you can add, it is store the application and the users data. All the users data and the application data are there in the tenant database. And in the tenant database, we have all the persistent services like index servers and the access engine. Guys, any other questions before I move to ahead. Okay, no questions. So okay, fine. So lot of
The
interview
function of
questions are there.
daemon server.
Come again. Come
Hello.
again. Yeah,
Yeah,
come again.
actually, what is the function of daemon here?
I'll explain later. Maybe coming session. Yeah. So it is not imported in systemdb and the tenant database. So I'll explain this later. So whatever I explain, just you concentrate on those topics. Everything will be covered step by steps. Any questions till now? Whatever I explained. Any confusion? Any doubt?
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go step by step. So don't worry, everything will be covered. So whatever you can see here, so everything will be covered. So whatever I want to highlight in the systemdb and tenant database, that is more important in terms of your interviews, and if you're going both for the global certifications. So many questions are come from systemdb and the tenant database, so which I'm highlighting. So once that is done, then we'll go with the other services. Yeah, fine. Okay, so when we take a backup, so we take a backup for the systemdb, we take a backup for the tenant database. So when we take a backup of the system database, which doesn't hold any data, so what services get backups? So here the name servers get backup, because in the systemdb, okay, in the systemdb, the name servers hold a topological information plus some system related data. Okay, so when we take a backup, then name servers get backup, and two files will be created for the name server. One is the topological backups, topological files, and another is the volumes. Okay, volumes backups. Okay, so if you see here in the first lecture, I explained about the statistic servers. So statistic servers from HANA 1.0 to SP09 onwards, it is merged into the index servers. Okay, now we index servers we don't have in the systemdb. Okay, so where and in tenant database we have the index servers. So we know that statistic servers are embedded into the index servers. So we get the alerts and everything of tenants to the statistic servers, which is merged into the index server. But what about the system database? So how I'll get the alerts? Because in the system database we don't have the index servers. If you don't have the index servers, then where is the my statistic servers? So how I'll get how I'm getting the alerts of systemdb? Like if you see that in the systemdb alerts tab, there's a alert. Okay, so how I'm getting this alert? Okay, this alert we are getting through the statistic servers. Okay, but where is the statistic servers in the systemdb? So in the systemdb, the statistic servers are embedded into the name servers. Okay, so in systemdb, statistic servers are embedded into the name servers, and in the tenants it is embedded into the index server. So interview questions, so where is the statistic servers in systemdb or in tenants? Because HANA SP09, HANA 1.0 SP09, the statistic servers are merged into the index servers, and we don't have the index server in the systemdb. Then where is my statistic server in the systemdb? So the answer is the statistic server in the name servers. Okay, so it is embedded into the name server. So we are getting the alerts. So whatever the alerts you can see here, this monitorings and all that, this we are getting from the name servers, where we have the embedded statistic servers. Okay, fine. So I'll go back to the my PPT and I'll go through the some theory. So starting from SAP HANA 1.0 SP09, the SAP HANA supports the multi-tenant database. Okay, so the multi-data containers are supported in HANA 1.0 SP09 onwards. But when you install the HANA 1.0 SP09 onwards, then it will ask you whether you want to install HANA 1.0 as a single tenant or multi-tenants. So it provides you the options in HANA 1.0. But by default, we say that HANA 1.0 is the single containers, because if you don't choose anything, single container or multi-container, by default it installed as the the single containers. So by default it is ticked on the single containers. Okay, and if you want to install, you just change the radio buttons to the multi containers of HANA 1.0. So HANA 1.0 is out of supports. Okay, so basically we have HANA 2.0. So all 2.0 are the are installed as a multi container by default. So starting from HANA 2.0 SP01, the multi database container will become a default. Okay, so from SP01 it's become a default installation, but HANA 2.0 SP00 it was acting as a HANA 1.0. Okay, but after SAP released the SP01, where they kept these multi-container as a default installation. So interview questions: what is different between HANA 1.0 and the 2.0? So this is the one point. Okay, the HANA 1.0 is the single container, and HANA 2.0 is the multi containers. And by default, when you install HANA 2.0, it install as a the multi container by default. Okay, so after HANA 2.0 SPS 01 installation, one system DB and one tenant database is created. Okay, so we have already covered that one. Okay, so same SIDs. The name servers and other non-persistent services are available only on the system database. Okay, index servers and the other persistent services are available only on tenant database. In multi-container system, the connection to the system DB happen through the name servers, which serve as the SQL port. Okay, so there load. So whatever the points I mentioned that refer to a interview questions. So what are the interview questions? What are the non-persistent services in the system DB? So what system DB content for people may ask different questions, but answer will be the same. So what are the what are the services contain the system DB? Okay, so we can say that non-persistent services are there in the system DB, and the main service are the name servers, which is more important in the system DB, which hold the topological information about all your system database. Index server and other persistent services are available only on tenant database. Okay, so tenant database contain the all the persistent services. So interview question: does that system DB contain the index servers? Example answer is no, because system DB doesn't hold the users data. So index servers and the access engine are there in the tenant database. Okay, so the other interview questions that if I have two tenant database, okay, in my system, so how many index servers will be there? So number of tenants, number of index servers. So two tenant database, then you will be having the two index index servers in the HANA system. So one for each tenants. Okay, like this. So many questions comes on this area. Okay, so whatever the points I mentioned that refer to interview questions as well. Yeah. So in the multi containers system, connections to the system will be happen to the name server. So I explained this one. So the interview question: how how the HANA Studio connect to the system database on which port? So it is the SQL port of the name servers. The similar like tenant database, it is the index servers SQL port. By default, you can configure the 20 tenant database maximum. You can configure a 20 tenant database in one system database. In one system DB, you can have maximum 20 tenant database. Embedded system, but you can if you want to use more than 20, then there is a one parameters which you have to configure. So it will allow you more than 20 tenants. Okay, but by default SAP kept as a 20 tenants by default, If you want more tenants, more than 20, then you have to configure the parameters. Okay, we'll see that later. So embedded static servers run in the both systemdb, that is the name servers, and the tenant database, that is on the index servers. When systemdb is down, all tenant database are also down. Okay, so when you stop your systemdb, then whatever the tenants you have in the systems will stop. We can restrict the memory allocation, okay, for specific tenant database, okay, in the configuration. So we have the configuration tab. So if you want to restrict the memory allocation for the tenant database, then we can do it. Okay, so in the global.ini we can go to the memory managers section, then allocation limit. Okay, so if you see here in the HANA Studio, we have here configuration. So in the configuration, so this part I will explain later. So just giving the overview. If you want to restrict the memory allocation for your tenant database, then you can go in the global.ini. Then under the global.ini, memory manager is there. So this point I will cover later. Okay. So in the memory managers, okay, this is the allocation limit. So if you see here, we have the systemdb. Here you have the database, tenant database. So this is systemdb. This is tenants. Okay. So this allocation limit you can allocate. Okay. For example, you have two tenant database. You have two tenant database Deo and the QA, for example. Okay. Whatever it is, and you have the memory of 1 terabyte on this box on the servers, and you want that Dev should use 200 GB of memory, and then QA should use 700 GB, and systemdb can have 100 GB of memory. Okay, can use. Okay, so you can allocate the memory. So here whatever you allocate, that value will be in the MB. So you have to convert that GB into the MP, and then you have to provide the values here. For example, here is system database. So I'll put that 1024. So this will be around 10 something. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, so it is in MB. So if you can convert this 1024 in GB, so it will come 1 TB. Okay, so for example, I want to put 200 something, so you can just convert that. Okay, so I think it is in the GB, I think. Yeah, it is in GB, not in the MB, sorry. So for example, you want to restrict the systemdb, you want to allocate the 100 GB for systemdb, then put here 100 for systemdb. And if you want to restrict the memory allocation for your tenants, then if you see in the database, we have the tenants Dev. You can restrict the values here, like here you can have 500. Okay, so this is very critical. Okay, so if I restrict like this, and if I don't have the memory here, okay, and if I click on the save, then my HANA system will crash. Make sure that whatever you providing the values here, so make sure that that much of amount of memory you should have on your HANA system. If you don't have that much of the memory on your HANA systems, then your HANA system will crash. So in my systems, I have 24, 64 GB of RAM. So if I provide more than that, then it will crash. Okay, so make sure that whatever value you provide, that value should exist. Okay, that much of amount of memory should be available in the HANA systems. Okay, fine. So this part I will cover later. Yeah. Okay, so only the systemdb users with the database admin system privileges can start and stop the tenantdb using the SQL. So if you want to start and stop the tenant database, individual tenant database, then we start and stop from the systemdb. So in the systemdb, we open the SQL console, and there we provide the SQL commands. Okay, so the users who executing start and stop, that user should have at least database admin authorizations. Okay, so that is the system privileges. Okay, so that profiles this authorization should be there for the users who do the start and stop of the individual tenant database. Please note that TenantDB administrator cannot start and stop tenant database. So that means that you log it into the tenant database, and from the tenant database you are executing a SQL statement to stop the tenants. So that is not possible. So start and stop of your tenants is done through the systemdb only. In SAP HANA multi-data container, the topological information are stored in the index servers. Okay, you can find this while performing the backup. So we have the okay, so topological information. So who stored the topological information? It is the name servers. So the name servers in the systemdb hold the topological information about the system database. Okay, but what about the tenant database? So tenant database has their own topological information. Correct. So in the tenant database, index servers hold the topological information. So when we take a backups of the tenant database, so index servers get backed up. Okay, so in the index servers, two files are created during the backups. After the backups, one is the topological backups, and another is the volumes backup. So volumes is nothing but the actual data. Okay, and also the XX engine is also get backup. So here topological information are stored in the index servers of the tenant database. So interview questions, where my topological information are stored in multi-data containers. So answer is that in systemdb we have the name servers which hold the topological information about your systemdb, and in the tenant database we have the index servers which hold the topological information about the tenant database. So what is the topological information? So I explained this in the first lectures. If you remember that my architectures, HANA 1.0 architectures, in that I have explained about the name servers hold the topological information about your HANA systems. So if you see that what is the topological, okay, so I also during the after the installation I explained this one. So this, if you see that this landscape, this landscape is nothing but your topological information. So these all topological information are stored in your name servers. Okay, and in the tenant database, landscape, services, redistribution, these all information are there in the index server. So these are the topological information. So these are the topological information, means the system landscape information. System landscapes informations are stored in the index servers, okay, of your tenant database. So in simple words, we landscape we call a topological information. Okay, and in systemdb the landscape is also having and this landscape we call a topological information. So these topological information are stored in the name servers. So systemdb is, in the systemdb the name server is there which hold the topological information about your system database, and the in tenant database, so topological information are stored in the index servers. So each and every tenant having their own topological information which is stored in the index servers. Okay, fine. So yeah, so okay, so I covered this one. The last one, the configuration of the system database. So I'll cover this when I will performing the configuration of the tenants and system database. Okay, guys, any questions till now here before I move to the practical part?
Yes,
What is
sir, I
the
have one. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, guys, tell me.
function
Sir,
of name server in the tenant database container?
Come again, sorry, in the come again please.
What is the function of name server in the tenant database? Actually, there is also a name server present in the tenant database.
Yeah, doesn't do anything. It is there as it is. It doesn't do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
I
if
have
you
one question. Okay.
yeah, just a minute. So if you see that here we have the name servers. So it is there, but it does nothing. I don't know why it is there in the the tenants. It does nothing. Yeah. So if you see that port number here of name servers 3001, it is same port of the name servers of your 3001 of your system DB. So if you see, it is coming from your system DB only. So this is only for the system database. Okay, so here it is just referring to your system DB name servers, but it doesn't do anything in the tenants. Yeah. So tenants, only the index servers and XX engine are very important. Yeah. Other questions?
Let's say, sir, suppose we have three system landscape in the system in our project. So, like, what should be the architecture? Should we use one HANA database and three application server? Like for QA, it should be use one tenant database. For production, it should use one tenant database like that. Or like, what is the industry best practice?
So industry best practice, if you see that last lecture I covered that one. So single SCOS, MCOS like this. I explained this one already. If you have the on-premise, and it's all depends upon your customers budget. Okay, so go through that my the last video. Okay, so in that I explain everything, like if you are on the cloud, so on cloud the VMs are very cheaper, so there we go per SIDs. Okay, one SID per VMs. But if it is on the the on premise, then we can have the multiple the SIDs on one box, one hardware, or we can have multiple tenants on one system DB like this.
So, sir, is it possible to stop one particular tenant from system DB?
Yes, you can. We will see that practical.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys, before I move to the
So
practical part?
what is the I see two port number. One is the first port number between the host and the services, and then there's the SQL port. What is the function of this other port, or where is it used?
This port, right? This is the
Yes.
internal ports.
Internal port meaning?
Internal communication. If, for example, if the if the web dispatcher want to communicate with the index servers, then it will use the internal port. So internal communications
Okay.
within the HANA systems. Okay, so we don't use this port. So this port is used internally by the HANA systems, and whenever we want to communicate, we use the external port. That is the external port. So these internal ports are for internal communication between the services. Any other questions, guys? Fine. So, Prashant, any question from your side? Okay, fine. So let's move to the practical. Practical is very simple. The theory is very important in the multi-data context. You go through my videos multiple times, last one and this one, club these two, and you have to, multiple times you have to, read, and you listen my, video multiple times, because very important topics this one. Okay, so all your, the database administrator, it depends upon your on this topic. So on this because HANA 2.0 is the multi-data containers, and whatever you do, you actually do in the multi-data containers. Okay, so the concept and the theory part, you should be clear. Practical is very simple. If I explain the practical part, it will get complete in 20 minutes. Okay, let's start. So in HANA, if you see that more are the theory are very important. If your theory and the concept are clear, you can do anything. Practical is very simple. Okay, fine. So what is the difference between single container and the multi containers? So uh, the interview questions. So you can explain this one. So The single container are straightforward scenario, maximum resource allocation to a single application. Okay, so so single application means single database. Okay, so you have one hardware, and then in that you have one HANA database, one application. Supported with no restrictions. The limitation is total cost to ownership. So the cost is high in single data container because you will be having the one SIDs per hardware. So one SID per hardware means you. So if you see that TCO is higher in the single containers, but in the multi container, if you see that hardware resource uses is optimized better, run multiple tenant database on one HANA systems, strong separation of the data and the users. So each and every tenants have their own the users and the data. Okay, and individual backup and restore tenant database you can perform. One HADR settings for the system DB, all tenants are included in the HADR. So when you configure the HA or the DR for your HANA 2.0, then we configure the HADR for system DB. Once your system DB is configured for HADR, by default your all tenants will be part of the HA and the DR. The lower TCO, the cost for the the cost is lower in multi-tenant because you will be running multiple tenants on the single hardware, and you will be having one OS license. But if you see here, if you want to run multiple uh, you know database, then you require a multiple OS. Okay, if you want to have single data containers. Okay, but here if you see, we can see that you can run the multiple tenant database on one OS license. So in direct in multi-data container, your the cost will be lower. The limitation, system database is point of failure. Okay, so if your system database is crash, the system DB is shut down, then all your tenant database will shut down. So system DB is the single point of failure. So if you see here, I have mentioned this run multiple tenant database on one HANA systems, and also hardware resource usage is optimized better. So the first one, sorry, the hardware resource usage is optimized better. So meaning of this one, you can if you see for example, if it is on premise and you have the private data center, for example, and there you have 5 TB of RAM, for example, 5 TB, 2 TB, or whatever it is, and there you have only 2 tenant database, and the memory utilization uh, total for that HANA system is not going more than 1 TB, and you have 5 TB, so almost 4 TB it is free. So you can plan for additional tenant database. You can optimize your hardware better. So by installing the additional tenant database, by creating the additional tenant database, and on top of that tenant database you can install the application. So so you can utilize your hardware better way. Okay, so if you see that any resource are unutilized, like memory, then you can build you can create a additional tenant database, and you can use for that tenants database for any other application. So that way you can utilize your hardware better, and you can save a lot of cost here in case of multi-data containers. Any questions here till now? Okay, fine. So coming to the practical part. So in the practical, so we can perform the tenant creations. We can create a tenant database up to 20 tenant you can create. You can drop the tenant database. Okay, we can create, drop, and we can start and stop the tenant database. Okay, so these three things we do from the system database. Okay, and also for backup and recovery also we do, but that is not through the SQL, that is from the GUIs, but through the SQL this three commands we do. So we'll see that how to execute this one, and I will explain this command. So let me copy this command in the text, and I will explain. each and every command. It's very simple, no need to buy hard. Just keep this in, you know, in your notepad. So if you see that how to create a tenant database, additional tenant database. So command is like this. Okay, command is, this is the command, create database. Here is the SID. This is the SID. Okay, create database. Database name is the SID, whatever SID you want to create, just specify with system users, and the password is this one. So whatever the password you provide, you just type here like this. Okay. So here you have to replace your SID. For example, I will create HD1 as a tenant database. Okay. So like this. So you just type this one, create database HD1, create tenant database HD1 with user ID system, and the password for system is the welcome. You just execute this command in the system database. Go to this HANA Studio, log into the system database. Okay, here right click, okay, and then open the SQL console. Once you open the SQL console, there you just type the command, create database HD1 system user, password is welcome one, and then colon, and then here just click on the execute button. So in the below, if you see, it is executing. So it takes 2 or 3 minutes, depends upon the speed of your hardware servers, and then after that it will create the tenant as a HD1. And once it is created, you can log into the HD1 with system users, this system users, and the password is welcome one. We'll see that. So once the HD1 is created, you can see the 2 index servers from the OS level. I will show you that. Yeah, if you see below, the command is executed successfully. How much time it took? 1 minute, 14 seconds, and 6 to 5 milliseconds. Okay, the command is executed successfully. So if you see that I have made a mistake, so in the password I have given the code, so that is not required. Okay, the password should be like this. So when I give the password, when I connect, then I have to give the code as well. Let me see, it is wrong or right. So let me connect. Okay, let me connect to now. Once if you see the HD1 is done, then you can connect to the HD1. Just open this one and type the IP address, host name, sorry, IP address or host name, and then instance number, then multi-tenant containers, and then here select the tenant database and then type the tenant database name HD1, then click next, and then password user systems, and the password is welcome one, and then finish. Yeah, so yeah, barabar, correct. So you have to specify like this. So welcome one is the password. You have to provide the password in the double quote. Yeah, like this. So if you see that HD1 is get connected, if I open, so here I don't see the, once you created the additional tenant database and then inside that tenant database you won't see the XX engine. Okay, so only in the additional tenants you will see the index servers only, no XX engine. Okay, so if you see, I have opened the HD one, and if you see that I have only the index servers and I don't have the, you know, the XX engine. Okay, here. So in the first tenant, if you see that dev tenants, there we have the XX engine. So here I don't have the XX engine. Yeah. So if you want, you know, XX engine, then we enable the XX engine in the the additional tenant database if we have the requirement. So that enable is done to the in the configuration. We'll see that later part. Okay, inside that configuration, we enable the XX engine. If you see that here we have the XX engine. Okay, so if you want, we enable that XX engine. So we'll see that later about this configuration part. Yeah? So if you see that in the landscape, you have this one, and the port number. If you see that here is the different internal port number. Okay, it is 40, and if you open the dev, the port number for this one 300 something. Okay, because two index servers cannot run on the same port number. Okay, so if you see here for your dev, the index servers port number is 30003. This is my first standard database which installed by default, and the HD one which I created, and the port number for that 30040. Okay, if you see the external port, the external port will also change 30041. Okay, additional one. Okay, so the 41, then 42, like this it will create the next port it will take. So 41, then if you create any additional tenants, third tenants, then the port number will be become 43 something kind of. So it will leave 142. Okay, and the next available port will be 43. So 42 will be your XX engine. So if you enable the XX engine in HD1, then the port number it will use for XX will be 30042 something. So the next port for your index servers for additional tenants will change. Yeah. So if you go in the dev, if you see the index servers port number, it is 30015. This 30015 is for initial, and the additional one, if you see that, it is different. At the end, it is 41. Okay, like this. So this you can verify from the OS level as well. If you go at the OS level, and if you log in with the SID ADM, if somebody asks how you will verify how many tenants are exist in your HANA system from the OS level, how you will identify. So the command I will show you that how to identify from the OS level. So log into the SID ADM. Okay, SID is dev ADM, and then there you have to execute SDB info. So if you see here, how many index servers I have? One index servers, two index servers. So this is the port and this is the port. If you see here, so one index, two index. So that means that I'm having two tenants in my HANA systems. So by looking from OS level, you can easily identify how many tenants I have in the HANA systems. Okay, like this you can check from the OS level as well. Okay, so this is very simple command for creating the tenant database. Okay, the other commands, you can create multiple tenants. Okay, by specifying the password under the double quote. Okay, the other commands drop I will explain later. Okay, so how to start and stop your tenant database. So the command is alter system stop database, and then you have to provide your database name. So in case our case is HD1, If you want to stop, you just specify SD1. Whatever your tenant database you want to stop, you have to provide that names only. So you don't need to by heart these commands. Okay, you just keep this command notepad, and you just change your SIDs only and the password or whatever you want to keep. So how to stop? Just delete this one from the um, systemdb, execute alter system stop database tenant database name SD1 colon and then execute. So it will take times to stop. You can, once it is stops, you can verify from the OS level if it is stop or not. Okay, so I'll show you that once it is stopped, then you will see only one tenants. Okay, it is stopped. If you see that command is executed successfully. Okay, this command is executed successfully. So if you go at the OS level, and if you type again HDB info, then your let me clear this one. Okay, if you type HDB info, then you will see only the one index servers. Okay, on this port. That means that this is the default tenant database. Okay, so one index servers means other index servers tenants are stops. Like this you can do this one. If you want to start, just replace this one, alter system start database, and then execute. You provide your tenant database name. Okay, so whatever you do, creation, starting, stopping, dropping the tenant database, you can do from systemdb SQL commands, SQL consoles. If you see that the command is executed successfully, if you go from the OS level and if you type HDB info, then you will see the index servers. So this is the index servers on port number 30040. Okay, this is the internal port. So this way you can start and stop your tenant database. Now sometime what happened, the some systems we decommission. Okay, for example, you have multiple tenant database, and that particular database systems is not required. Okay, so in that case what we do, we uninstall, and then we uninstall application, and then we also uninstall the database. In some time, if you want to decommission the any systems. Okay, so once you done with the application uninstalled, and there is a requirement that you have to decommission that HD1. Okay, then whatever the applications are running on that HD1 you will uninstall, and then after that you will have to drop the this HD1 from your HANA system. Why we need to drop this one? Okay, because we want to get the memory free. If you don't drop this one HD1, and if that HD1 is no more required, and you got a confirmation to decommission this one, and if you don't drop the unnecessary database, which is unnecessary tenant database which is there in the HANA system, then it will utilize the memory. Okay, so it will utilize your memory, and uh, then it will be difficult for you to optimize your the performance. So better always when you have the confirmation to decommission the application or database, then you just drop that particular tenant database, okay, from your HANA systems to free up some memory. So how to drop that one? So if you see here, the command here is the drop command is there. This is the drop, simple drop database. Then you have to specify the SIDs, SD1. Just copy, paste here, and then execute colon, and then execute. So before dropping, okay, so if you see the drop database HD1 cannot drop database which is not sub. So for dropping a any tenant database, you have to make sure that tenant database are stop. Okay, so if it is not stop, then it will give you the errors like this. Okay, so we have to stop the tenant database HD1. So whatever the database you want to drop means delete. Okay, from the HANA systems, then you have to stop first, because if the database HD1 is running, then it won't allow, the HANA system will not allow you to drop that tenants. Yeah. Now it is stop. Now I will execute this command. So I don't by heart this command, so I have this command handy in my laptops. Okay, so but for the interview time, the people ask what is the command for starting and stopping the tenant database. Then that time you have to by heart. Okay, so even you can by heart simple. It is alter system stop database HD1, alter system start database HD1. So they ask the questions how to create, what is the SQL commands, how to drop. So only three commands are there. If you see that create, drop, and then alter. So if you can also consider this one commands, because if you see that you have to only replace this one start and stop. So if you by heart these three commands, then it is also good for your interview, or also for if you're going for the HANA global certification. There also they ask what is the command, select radio button they will provide you, so you have to just select the correct commands for this activity. So if you see that drop database HD1 is deleted from the HANA database. Okay, so if you see here from the OS level, if you type HDB info, let me clear this one, HDB info, then you won't see the additional index servers. Also, if you want to verify from the system DB whether how many tenants and what are the SIDs for that particular tenants are there, you can verify from the system DB. Just right click on the system DB and then click on the backup and recovery, and then click on the backup the tenant database. When you click on the backup the tenant database, it will list down the tenant database. So whatever the tenant database you have in HANA systems with the SID name, it will show you that. So yeah, so this is the easiest way you can find out how many tenants I have. How many tenants you have, you can find out from the OS level. But what is the SIDs for that tenants, you can check from like this. So if you see here dev, that means that it is your tenant database, one tenant database with the DV SID is exist. Yeah, so this is the simple way I always use to find out how many tenants SIDs name we have in the system database. Okay, so this way you can manage your tenant database. Only three commands are there. Any questions, any doubt now till now?
Can I rename the tenant database
No.
SID?
No.
So the first tenant SID is supposed to be always the SID of my system DB.
Yeah, correct. So you can drop and you can create your own. Okay,
so I
so
can,
yeah, go ahead.
so once I have created the first tenant DB, which is by default, I mean, naming convention is by default the SID of the system DB. I can drop it and go ahead and create a new one, maybe HD1, HD2, whatever, new
Yes,
SID.
yes, correct. So why this additional tenants, by default one tenants are given by the SAP? I will explain. There is a concept. Let me show you that one, how why SAP given that one additional one tenant database during the installation. So if you see here, so yeah, one thing I forgot. Yeah, so let me explain that one. If you see here, if you see here, let me delete all the unnecessary things. If you see here, this is the system DB, and the naming convention for this one, if you see, so when you connect to the your when you install, that time you provide the SID like this on Deo. Okay, and after the installation, when you connect to systemdb, then the entry in the HANA Studio is created like this. Okay, like this SID. Okay, so this SID is nothing but like it will be like this. So whatever the SID you have, like Deo I have given this one, and then whatever the additional tenant database you connect, like if you see that here SD1 Deo, so that means that SD1 is the my tenant database SIDs, and Deo is my systemdb SIDs. So if you see that here systemdb SID is Deo, and when you uh, create any tenant database and connect to the tenant database, then the entry will be created like this, like tenant db SID @system db SID. Okay, so we have created the tenant database SD1. So SD1 where this SD1 is there, this SD1 is there in the systemdb SID tab. So like this, one entry is created like this, and in the bracket the username is there. So if you see that this is SD1 @dev, okay, and additional one, if you see that dev. So first always your tenants, okay, then and the second is always your systemdb. So by looking this one, you can say that here my tenants is SD1 and DEV is the systemdb where I have SD1. So this indicate that your the second SID indicate always your system. Okay, so coming to the the points why SAP given the during the installation SAP provided the one tenant database by default. The the logic is here like this. So we have people we have the basis people. Okay, they don't know about the HANA database. They know something about the HANA database, but they don't know about the multi-data container concept. Okay, and in HANA 1.0, if you see that, if I'm working on HANA 1.0, I do not have knowledge on the HANA 2.0, and HANA 2.0 is the multi-data containers, and I don't know the multi-data container concept. I know only the HANA 1.0. Okay, so I install HANA 1.0 database, and then on top of I install the application. So when you install the any SAP application, ABAP or Java, that time it asks you to provide the database information, like what is the host name of your database, you provided XYZ. What is the instance number of your database, you provided XYZ. Now it will ask what is your SIDs for your tenant database, you don't know. So here it is, here it will specify your tenant database name. So if it is 1.0, then it won't ask. It only asks for provide your DB SIDs. So it will, you will provide your DB SIDs, and then it will do the installation. But if you're installing HANA 2.0 SAP application on HANA 2.0, for example, you know S4 HANA 2020 or S4 HANA 1909, which supported on 2.0 only, so you cannot install on 1.0. On a 1.0 HANA 1.0, you can only install System 10. System 10 only supported on HANA 1.0, which is now out of support. So nowadays all the SAP application are supported on HANA 2.0. So no HANA 1.0 support is there for the fresh installations. So new installation is always on 2.0. So when we install the HANA 2.0, so I know that how to install application on HANA 1.0. In HANA 1.0, it asks me database SIDs, instance number, then the SIDs, host name, instance number, user ID, system user ID, and the password. This 5 information it asks. I know that one. But in HANA 2.0, when you install the application on HANA 2.0, then it will ask you to provide the host name, instance number, and then SIDs of your system DB. You provided that. Next time it will again ask you in the next screen, provide the host name, provide the tenant database SIDs. You don't know what is tenant database. So by default you will provide, that I have only one SID for the HANA 2.0, that is Dev. So I will, by default I will provide that one. So Dev, and then password, system users, and the password during the installation whatever I provide. So I have the common information. Like this. So I install the HANA 2.0. Okay, I install. So this installation, by default installation is the multi-data containers. So here, by default, I don't know. I only know the HANA 1.0. So I will think that during the installation I have provided a Dev. Okay, and then instance number 00, and the IP address I have, host name I have. Okay, I know this host name. This information also I know the system users. Also I know the password for the system users. Okay, so this 5 information, Dev, host name, instance number, and the system, and this information I have. Okay, so this will common for your system DB and for your tenant database. So whenever during the installation, the SWPM will ask me provide the information about your system DB. Okay, so it will ask me your SID, I will provide this one, instance number I will provide this one, host number I will provide this one, password I will provide, system users password I will provide this one. Okay, also in the next screen it will ask you to provide the tenant DB name. So here it will provide the SIDs. What is the SIDs? Okay, tenant SIDs. So here I don't know what is tenant. I know that SIDs means database SID means Dev. So by default I will provide this one. Okay, and the password, system password. So I know that during installation I have given the password welcome one something kind of. So this 3 information, this 2 additional information it will ask when you install application on the 2.0. So if I don't know anything, if the consultant don't know anything, okay, if the additional tenants are one tenants the same SID is not created, and the if the basis people are new in HANA 2.0, if they don't know the multi-data container, then they won't able to understand this one. Okay, if they provide the same Dev and the password welcome one for the system users, and that Dev tenants are not exist in your system DB, then installation will fail. Okay, so to avoid that, the fail installations, SAP provided by default one tenant database. So by default your the people are installing the application on that particular tenant database. So by default it will install. So if SAP doesn't provide the default tenants with the same SID, then people will not understand and they will not able to do the installation. So the installation will the will fail. So that's the reason SAP provided the one tenants with the same SIDs, so that whoever install the HANA 2.0, they know these all details. So they will provide these details for your system DB and the tenant database. Okay. Okay. So that's the reason one we have. If the people knows that the one additional tenants are created, one tenants are created during the installation, then yeah they will know. Otherwise, if they don't want to use that tenant database, then they will drop that one and they will create their own like HD1. And during the installation, when it asks for provide the tenant database information, that time they will provide uh, HD1 like this, and then password whatever it is. Okay, so that's the reason SAP provided the additional one tenants with the same SID to avoid failure of the application installations. Yeah. Any questions here? I hope this clear your doubt, Jaiti.
Yes. Yeah.
Guys, any questions on this? Prashant, Rakesh,
That's okay.
guys, you are getting right, because this is big topic, and
Yes.
so all other topics will depend on this one, like configurations, then backup and recovery, then monitorings. Okay, everything will depends upon that multi-data containers concept and the theory. Yeah. Okay, so any other questions? If no, then we can stop for today, and then we'll meet tomorrow same time, and tomorrow we'll cover the monitorings, and then once the monitoring is done, then we'll go with the configuration of the HANA database, maybe the next weekend. Okay, so guys, any other questions before I stop?
No.
Okay. Prashant, Rakesh, Supro team.
No. Actually, regarding last, I think you have explained HANA architecture in day 3. I have one question regarding delta merge process. So if you can explain this delta merge, so like I couldn't get it properly. How it?
Yeah, yeah. So don't worry about that one. That is there in the memory management. So in that one, I will explain in detail. Yeah. So don't read the. So whatever I explain, you go my video and just concentrate on those, and those all will be covered in detailed in the memory management concept. Okay. So that is
Okay.
part of the memory management. So I will go in very detail. So you'll get everything clear about your delta merge. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions from previous the session? Any doubt? No. So we'll close today. I will share the recordings, and the servers will be available today and tomorrow, full day, full night. Okay. So you can do the practice. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks all.
Thank you, sir.
We'll meet same time tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, sir.